This is something that I was actually thinking about on my way home from work, and I said, you know what? It kind of all makes sense now. I don't know why I didn't think of this before, and I don't know if anyone else has picked up on it, but if it's anybody who watches my commentary who talks about the same things I do, who is out there listening, I hope y'all can maybe, I don't know, do a response video to it or something like that. That'll make me feel like I've given some clarification to this entire thing. So we all see what has gone on with the whole Bill Cosby debacle, and it's still being talked about even now. It'll be talked about for a while. But something that I've noticed, and this is a big reason why I call mainstream media lamestream media. Lamestream media has to play a lot of tricks on the people in order for them to not see value in a person that they prop up as someone positive or someone they deem as a hero. It's been done plenty and countless times, especially with black people that we have looked up to or seen as idolizing in our eyes for decades, for centuries. It's happened to Michael Jackson. I guess you could say, in this case, Bill Cosby, and a host of others. But I wanted to focus on Bill Cosby, and it's two examples that I want to use. I already gave you Michael Jackson, but then I'm going to use another one as well. So we all know Bill Cosby was seen as quote-unquote America's favorite dad. And now he has pretty much been stripped of that title, and they've given him like the face of sexual assault, which to me is absurd because it's been people who have done way worse and actually have evidence to back it up that they are who they are claimed to be. But and when I say they, I'm talking about lamestream media. They had to do the single most underhanded thing in order for Bill Cosby to really be seen as quote unquote demonic in the public viewing. And that was for him to lose the trust of the people that lifted him up the most, and that was black people. Now, why am I saying that? Everybody knows about the quote-unquote, sorry about that little interruption, but back to what I was saying. Bill Cosby was propped up by black people for decades, even before the Cosby Show was even a thing. We're talking about going all the way back to Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, or I Spy, all the comedy specials he's done, the hosting gigs that he's been a part of. He was a huge influential part of our lives, and to many he still is. But lamestream media had to do this in order for him to lose the trust of black people. And when he gave that pound cake speech, although I believe he should not have given that in mixed company, and that should have been more intimate and more with us, a lot of black people started to side-eye Bill Cosby. And thus, that's when the trust in him from black people started to dwindle. Now, I'm not going to say every black person turned on him, but a lot of other black people did. And notice that when this case happened, I started to see comments from a lot of black people say, oh, that's what he gets for, that pound cake speech this and pound cake speech that. And then you had some people say, well, he shouldn't have cheated on his wife and everything like that. To be honest, if cheating on your wife and having, infidelity as a whole can send you to jail, it would be a lot of people locked up. Them prisons would be so full, they wouldn't know where to put all the inmates. If that was the case, because a lot of people said that the crime he committed was cheating on his wife. And like I said, if cheating on your spouse, infidelity was a crime, it would be a lot of people in jail. A lot of people. So you would have to get on a waiting list just to put yourself in a cell, if that was the case. And unfortunately, that's a comment that I've seen come from black people as well. You got to really watch what you say when it comes to situations such as these. But lamestream media needed black people to lose confidence and lose trust in him so they can go on a full assault, because they saw black people as his last line of defense. And once he lost the trust of the people, lamestream media also took it upon themselves to use that as ammo to get black people to be on their side. So when black people started saying things like what I just used as an example, you gave lamestream media more ammo to go after him with, and don't even realize it. That's why when I notice when mainstream media does certain things, especially when it comes to black people, I look the other way. I don't follow the minds and mouths of sheep. Just, I guess in that instance, you can call me a drifter or a loner, or in some cases a pariah. Because I would never follow things that they said, especially when they are known to twist and spin things to their own accord and to their own narrative. Now, the two examples I'm going to use, let's start off with Nate Parker. He's a perfect example. As we all know, Nate Parker was a frontman to win a whole bunch of awards during award season, especially Oscars for Birth of a Nation. He won big awards at Sundance, and people kept talking about his film. Then all of a sudden, this story about this rape came up from 17, well now, damn near 20 years ago. That happened in 1999 that he was acquitted of by a white judge, a white jury, in a mostly white town in Pennsylvania. Ironically, Pennsylvania. Where did this case happen? Where did this trial happen? In Pennsylvania. But anyway, that came back up, and then all of a sudden, Lamestream media used that as a tool to kept throwing that back out there. Nate Parker better be very lucky that all of this happened before the whole Me Too thing kicked off, because they would have made him the face of it before Cosby. But he was found not guilty and he was acquitted of it, but they kept pushing it, and it's because they wanted to sabotage his film, which unfortunately they were successful with. And unfortunately, again, black people gave that ammo to Lamestream media, because a lot of them got in their feelings and all emotional to come to the defense of this white woman that they did not even know and could have very well been lying, and she most likely was, because he was acquitted of all the charges again by a white judge and a white jury in a mostly white town. And the only reason all this came back up is because she committed suicide, and even that had happened a few years ago. But it was all because they wanted to sabotage his movie because of the message that it contained, and they did not want a movie that was made by a black man to end up winning these awards, because that would be stamped in history. And then for Nate Parker's, I could say, detriment, it didn't help the fact that he ended up marrying a white woman later on in his lifetime, after a white woman almost got him caught up. And I think that also rubbed black people the wrong way. So they used that as well as ammo to fuel black people's emotions, and black people gave that ammo right back to them, and mainstream media dished right back on out. Now, the last example I wanted to use is Michael Jackson. Now, see, Michael Jackson is a special case because, see, Michael Jackson has had scandal after scandal after scandal throughout his career, dating back to the 80s, before I was even born. I mean, we heard so many rumors about him, such as, the elephant bones, and him buying the skeleton to the Elephant Man, him sleeping in a hyperbaric chamber, and all types of things, but none more than in the early 90s when that child molestation thing came up. And then, there was a settlement paid and whatnot, and it kind of went away. Then it came back again in 2005 when he got hit with that next child molestation case, and I think that one was more bigger. And see, that was at a time when social media was starting to rise. You had MySpace, Black Planet, Facebook. Good thing we didn't have Twitter at the time, or Instagram, or Snapchat, because I could only imagine what that would have been like. But see, the thing that helped Michael was that fact that he did not do things to, quote unquote, piss off the black community. And, he had a very multicultural, multi-diverse fan base worldwide that supported him through thick and thin. And Lamestream media could not use ammo against him because we did not feed it to them. That was one time when the world was on cold, because they could have easily sent Michael Jackson to jail, but they couldn't. And it killed them that they felt like this man got away with it twice. And I think the main reason why they went after Michael the second time is because he had owned over 50% of Sony's publishing, and he called Tommy Mottola the devil to the world. I think that's why they came after him, and that's what ended up blocking the sales of his last, what I could deem his last real album, Invincible, that came out in 2002. I'm telling you, behind the scenes, if they want someone to be taken down or taken out, they will find a way. But Michael Jackson, like I said, was a special case because they could not really get to him the way that they wanted to. So years went by, But the thing is, in the court of public opinion, and that's a wicked court too, he was this and that and the third, but a lot of people still didn't believe it. But he had to go into seclusion, into hiding for quite some time. He ended up having to sell his Neverland Ranch, which he deemed to be his haven for so many years. He literally built that home on that ranch that he, of course, they no longer own. I always said that after he passed, that they should have just turned his ranch, Neverland, into a museum. The state would have made a lot of money off of that. I said that's something that they kind of dropped the ball on. I and many others felt the same way, but you can't really go and fix stuff like that. Anyway, fast forward, he ended up dying and passing in 2009. And then, he was still making money in death, so that was still messing with their head. Like, Michael Jackson, I think to this day, is still the highest paid celebrity, dead or alive. But the estate went to his family, but then, of course, after he died, a lot of stuff got wrapped up in legalities, and now the estate is not so much in the hands of his family anymore. It's through some other channel. So they got him that way. So his family only gets a small cut of his estate instead of the whole thing. Prince, I guess you're gonna say the same way. He went and got his masters, and all of a sudden, a year later, he dies. So it's like it's kind of crazy how all of that stuff happens, but that's just the workings of how all of this works. But I said all of that to say this, and I'm gonna wrap it up because I didn't expect this video to go on this long. That Lamestream media needs the energy of black people to be low when it comes to convincing the world that their heroes are these monsters. And once they can get into the mind of black people, which for some reason is very easy for them to do, because I think black people as a collective are very easy to manipulate, then they've succeeded. Because we are like their last line of defense. And to go back to Michael Jackson, still to this day, people still don't believe that he did anything that he did. The FBI did a full sweep of his home, didn't find nothing. The guy came out and he said that he lied and was doing it for money, and all of a sudden he committed suicide because of guilt, which was a cowardice way to go, in my honest opinion. But I'm going to wrap the video up right here. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I hope the people who are listening to this video who do commentaries can expound more on what I've said, because this is something that was just sitting on my mind as I was coming home, and I was wondering what I was going to say. Some things came to me as I was on my way home. Some things came up on the fly as I'm recording this video. But y'all let me know what you think down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. The links to my email, PayPal, and email, PayPal, and Patreon are in the description. I will talk to you in the next one.